Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Big Four podcast. We're going to start today with the news that broke over the weekend with Michigan. Obviously talking about their athletic program shutting down for 2 weeks because of the new strain of COVID being found inside the athletic department. Worth noting there were 0 positive tests in the men's basketball program. So interesting decision there. What do you guys think about this?
Yeah, it just shows why Michigan athletics always suck, is because they don't care about winning.
It's a clown operation. I mean, any other, excuse me, any other big state university. This is Indiana. You think they'd be shutting down? No. Purdue? No. Indiana, Purdue, Ohio State, Iowa, Wisconsin? Hell no. They are shutting down. All right? But Michigan, I don't know what it is. They just don't, I don't know. They just don't care.
They gotta show that they care about this stuff, that they're taking it seriously.
Yes, and we know the people at the university have more power than these people in government. They just do. Imagine if Ohio tried to shut down Ohio State football. Gene Smith would laugh in their face. That wouldn't happen. It would not happen. It's ridiculous. I support Michigan athletes writing that letter to try to get back on the court, on the fields, for winter sports. It's ridiculous. And they should be still playing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the athletic department's fault. I mean, the state Department of Health.
This is bogus.
The State Department of Health and Human Services decided they
didn't shut down all Michigan State athletics, did they?
Well, they don't have tests in their program. In their athletic program.
Half of our kids on the basketball team have COVID. They still have practice.
They don't have the new strain. That's what it is.
Don't care about the new strain.
Okay, well, that's good for you. But
it was one isolated incident, and it did not touch the basketball program.
Well, first
There's
of all,
no reason why.
All right. First of all, it wasn't isolated.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't. There were a lot of positive tests. But that said, I don't agree with this decision at all by the government of Michigan. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Don't blame the government. Blame your school.
No, because that's who decided. It's not in their power.
The Michigan AD, Ward Manuel, he has more power than anybody.
Okay, that's just not true. So the
100%
not true.
Chris, I seem to vividly remember when back in, what was it, last March, maybe last April, when the shutdown stuff started. You're like, oh, they got to take all this power. They got to use their power, and now you complain about the power because it's the sports team you like. It's ridiculous.
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about, but listen, I'm just going to say here.
I'm just saying.
That this is a ridiculous decision by the state of Michigan. That aside.
It's not the state of Michigan.
It is the state of Michigan.
Listen. The state of Michigan has shown that they're going to overreach. They've done it this entire pandemic. No excuses. You got to be ready for that. Okay? That should not be happening at the University of Michigan. It just shouldn't be. Imagine if they tried to do that with Wisconsin. Barry Alvarez would laugh the DHS of Wisconsin out of the room.
No, they would get shut down.
That's ridiculous.
They would get shut down.
No, they wouldn't.
This was out of the hands of the university, but that said, it happened. Now, as for the basketball team, I'm a little worried how they're going to come out of this. It seems with the way that the Big Ten is trying to reschedule games that these games will be played at some point, and they're going to be bunched up. We see it with Michigan State scheduling over the weekend and early next week. This is going to be a tough road to winning the Big Ten, and I think this shutdown could honestly be the sole reason why we don't win the Big Ten this year. And that's too bad. It really is, but bigger than that.
Well, it doesn't matter, Chris, because it won't affect your Big Ten tournament chances.
Well, listen. It depends on what happens with Michigan in the regular season for whether or not the regular season championship counts. Anyways, my bigger concern is how we're playing, because we have to be. I want to come out of this playing well and not be an average team the rest of the year because of this shutdown. Which, it could happen. You get 2 weeks off after you're playing good basketball. You might just...
No excuses.
We'll see what happens, though. And, that could be a tough reality. I'm hoping that they're able to get back to normal, though. It seems like... So the last day of the 2 weeks was going to be that Michigan State game. So there are going to be, as long as everything goes smoothly, there will be some practices before the Illinois game, which is good. Hopefully, we can get back making some shots in practice, get a feel for the game. But it's too bad this decision came down, and they got to power through and keep playing well. And it's going to be tough with all this games piled up.
I got 2 words for you: no excuses. No excuses.
Okay, we're going to move on to talking about each and every Big Ten game from this last week. We'll start with last Thursday. We were talking about this game a little bit during last week's podcast. Penn State, off of COVID, they beat Rutgers at home, 75-67. And later that night, in a game that I'm sure Luke was very happy about, Indiana went and won at Carver Hawkeye Arena, 81-69. Maybe probably one of the bigger upsets of the year in college basketball.
No.
Okay,
Indiana was favored.
Upset. The favorite won the game.
Indiana was the favorite.
So what do you guys
think?
What do you guys think about these games?
Good win for Penn State. They still have. It's an outside chance at the tournament, but if they pile up some good wins in the Big Ten. They'll have plenty of opportunities. I'm sure they have 4 games that they need to reschedule still, at least. They might be able to sneak their way into the tournament as the last team in. Obviously, they got to start winning some more games here. But good win, tough loss for Rutgers. They bounced back though the other day against who did they beat? Indiana.
Yeah.
A good bounce back for them. And then great win for Indiana. Obviously, they were favored in the game, but once again, just showing how overrated Iowa is and how underrated Indiana is.
It's just every year, isn't it, for Iowa? Every year they start out hot, and then they falter towards the end of the season. And this was a game, a team that they've struggled with in the past. A game where it's a physical team. This is maybe a Sweet 16, maybe even round of 32 type team in Indiana that you're going to face. And really disappointing performance from Iowa. Just didn't show up. Indiana was way too physical. And in the Big Ten, you can't be out physical. You got to be the more physical team if you're going to win these games. And Iowa's not right now. Penn State, good win. Penn State, if they were in the ACC, they'd probably be a tournament team, but they're kind of stuck in the Big Ten. It's really hard to win games. But Rutgers, that they're barely in the tournament right now. Let's see if they can beat Michigan State tomorrow and go on a little bit of a run.
Yeah, I think this is a nice win for Penn State, but I don't know if they're going to be able to make a run here. But as for Rutgers, they really played themselves onto the bubble, and I think tomorrow's game is as big a game as you can get for a bubble team like that against Michigan State. It's a game they should win. A team coming off COVID, they got trounced by them last time. They should be motivated to play. That's a game they need to win if they're going to make the tournament.
Well, if you are motivated to play, that's a bad sign.
Well, we'll see. And yeah, a nice win for Indiana. That probably, at the end of the day, that probably will get them into the tournament, even though they did have a letdown on Sunday.
I don't know. Remember 2 years ago they beat Michigan State twice and still missed the tournament?
Yeah, that's true. But that's a really nice win. You go on the road, and anytime you win on the road in the Big Ten, it's good. But when you beat a team like Iowa, it's even better. Team that's played well all year, and that's a really good win for Indiana. Good for them.
If anything, it's even worse.
As for Iowa in this game, the bottom line is it just comes down to, well, first of all, Frederick only played 13 minutes because he got hurt. And
First of all, they suck in blood.
Here come the excuses.
Well, I firmly believe they would have won the game if C.J. Frederick played the whole game. But
I firmly believe they wouldn't.
Okay, they lost by 12 because they were fouling at the end of the game.
No.
They lost by 12.
So
the score's a score. You can't argue with stats.
Anyways, a trend I've been seeing, if Jordan Bohannon doesn't play well, Iowa does have a hard time. Well, at least the games.
Well, he's too preoccupied with his parking tickets right now.
The games are closer, a lot closer. When he doesn't play well, when he does play well, they just blow teams out. And he's 0 for 9 in this game, so that was a big part of it. And, they just didn't make open shots. I watched most of this game. They didn't make open shots. So, tough game for Iowa. But, really nice win. A nice win for Indiana. Good for them. All right. Friday, Michigan going to Purdue and getting a big road win. Purdue, one of the hottest teams in the Big Ten, coming into that game, and that was Michigan's last game before the shutdown.
You see, here's what Chris does. He spins it because Iowa's 10th best player gets hurt after the 13-minute mark, and Purdue's second best player doesn't play, and he says how great of a win it is. It's ridiculous.
Purdue, one of the hottest teams in the Big Ten. They're on a 4-game win streak going into this, and three of the teams, it was Indiana, Penn State, and Michigan State, three unranked teams.
Sorry, I thought Indiana was good.
Listen, you have to apply it correctly.
Yeah.
Just like it's
no, Luke. I go by the Dockich Index, and he had them as the fourth best team in the conference. So.
Well, listen. You have to. It's like the Iowa when Indiana beats Iowa. It's because Indiana's underrated and Iowa's overrated. Right? It's both. But so that's a very good win for Indiana, but it's a very bad loss for Iowa.
Yeah.
You have to apply it. It's a good loss for both teams, except for Iowa because they suck.
Yeah.
You just have to apply it right. Pretty good win for Michigan. Win by 17, but it was really 10 with the fouls at the end, pushed it to 17. Not as good as a win as it looks. They actually it was pretty even the second half, and that's what you have to look at for these games. So. Michigan trending in the wrong direction, obviously, but we'll see if they can come back from these postponed games. And they have a tough schedule after. They have Illinois, Wisconsin, Rutgers, Ohio State, Indiana. They're 4 games after they come back, so we'll see.
No, there'll probably be 8 different games shoved in there because of all these postponements.
Speaking of shoved in.
All right.
Excuses.
Are you going to say something about the game, Mike?
Yeah, well, it was sad that Michigan peaked in the first half. You go up 13, second half, you only win the second half by 4. That's embarrassing. You peaked in the first half. You can't peak in the first half. Great teams peak in the second half. Michigan is not a great team because they always peak in the first half.
Who'd they lose to?
Minnesota.
Oh, that's right.
Minnesota. Yeah, that's right. Michigan, listen, you play Purdue without their second best player. If Purdue didn't have Stefanovic against Michigan State, we would have won that game because he scored 3 points in that game. So take away 3, win by 2. So I don't take much out of this win for Michigan.
Yeah, this is a very nice win. Juwan Howard, by the way, as a player and coach, has never lost at Mackey Arena. Interesting stat. But anyways, yeah,
okay.
Good, very nice
win. He was
win.
there for 2 years.
I
only played there once.
Possibly the best player in the Big Ten right now, outside of Luka Garza over the last week, has been Isaiah Livers. I believe he won Big Ten Player of the Week this week.
Ron Harper Jr.
Okay. I believe Isaiah Livers won Big Ten Player of the Week this week. 22 and 10 in this game. And the guy plays almost every minute. He's just an elite player. He's been playing really well for us.
Well, too bad he can't play this week.
Okay. As for the rest of the team, nice game for Brooks. Nice Dickinson, did his job. They double him. He was 3 for 7, made some nice passes. And we still beat.
He's falling off.
Yeah, because he's getting doubled, and we're getting He's getting doubled. We're getting wide open threes and making them.
Yeah, he's struggling.
He's not even shooting.
Once you get into the meat of Big Ten play, he's going to struggle. That's what I said.
Mike, I think if you look at his field goal percentage, it hasn't moved. He just gets 7 guys on him every time. He gets.
I look at points per game.
Yeah.
What do you do for me? How many points do you put up?
Yeah,
He's not putting up enough points.
Well, gets doubled, and we get wide open threes. So, nice win. We defended really well. Trevion Williams was 6 for 19. We really defended well, and Edey didn't do much either. I know Mike loves Edey, but he sucks.
Edey played a great first half.
Yeah. So yeah, nice win, nice road win. That's you got to get those in the Big Ten if you're gonna have a chance to win the conference. So nice win. All right, Saturday's games. We had Maryland, the stunner, going to Minnesota, which was usually lights out at home, winning pretty handily, 63-49. Ohio State with a very nice win at the Kohl Center over Wisconsin, and Penn State over Northwestern with John Beilein on the call. What do you guys think about these games?
I just don't feel like there are really any big surprises. I mean, the Big Ten this year is just a gauntlet, especially the top 10 to 11 teams. It's just an absolute gauntlet. It's just especially going on the road, obviously, isn't as hard as it was last year. But good win for Ohio State over Wisconsin. But I'm not too shocked by it. I would say I'm surprised. I'm not shocked. Very good win for Ohio State. We've been trending in the right direction the last few weeks. And, so that was a good win. Obviously, Chris Holtmann has shown that he's one of the best coaches in the Big Ten. Great win for Maryland over Minnesota, but that's also not a shock since Minnesota is the most inconsistent team, and Maryland is a top 3 Big Ten team. And it was a good game at Penn State and wherever the hell they play, College Park, or what's their arena called? Probably like
the
Nittany
Bryce
Lion
Jordan
Arena.
Center.
No, it's University Park at Nittany Lion Arena, because that's what they name everything. And so Northwestern obviously. Not obviously, but I think we talked about this last time. They got to start getting some wins together here because they're kind of falling apart. The DePaul thing, they had some good wins at the beginning of the year, but they got to do something to get back on track.
I mean Minnesota. They probably just the grounds crew probably didn't take Maryland seriously enough. They forgot to change the rims before the game. In the second half, it was too late. They couldn't, put them in the second half up enough. So that's why Maryland won that game. Ohio State, good win over Wisconsin. I still think Wisconsin, they'll be fine by the end of the year. Right now, they're certainly too hot. They've lost. Where are they in conference play?
They're 6-3.
They're 6-3 in conference, so they're still doing quite well for themselves. They're on pace, 14 wins in the Big Ten right now. That might win it. Depending on how Iowa and Michigan do down the stretch. I expect them to get going, though. They really haven't looked like the team from last year just quite yet, except for the Michigan State game where they played a perfect game. Penn State, whatever. Penn State got to have these games, and that's a good win for Penn State. Northwestern, talk about a team that completely fell off the face of the earth. I was talking about it early, how, just they aren't as good as the record is, and they aren't as good as the start of the Big Ten season that they played. But when you play a Michigan State team in the first game of the Big Ten, that's really a springboard because we every team that we play shoots 100% from the field and plays a perfect game. But that's a good win for Penn State. I'll give them credit.
Yeah, Maryland, they've won a lot of games on the road. They're set on the bubble right now. They got a chance to make the tournament. I think that a lot of people are surprised just because of these wins they've piled up at Wisconsin and Illinois and now Minnesota. So good for them. Mark Turgeon, kind of switching it up a little bit. Usually he's terrible.
I just think he's too dumb. I just think he probably thinks every game's a home game because there's no fans.
Yeah, that's true. All right, Ohio State. This is a really impressive win for Ohio State. It's really tough to win at the Kohl Center. Unless you're Maryland. E.J. Liddell, great game. And they closed it out well. Liam Ford made a couple big shots down the stretch to make it interesting. But only 8 shots for Dimitri Trice. They're not really getting the ball very much. Davison's been struggling. It's been a little bit of a struggle to score the ball for Wisconsin, but as Mike said, I agree with him. They'll be fine. I don't really take anything out of Penn State's win, but I don't know if you guys watched this game. I watched most of it because as soon as I heard John Beilein on the call, I had to listen. This guy's great. Tell you what, next time Michigan plays on BTN, he needs to be on the call. He's just
Tim Miles is better than him.
No. John Beilein. No. This guy's one of the best color analysts I've ever heard. He's up there with Raftery. So that was a good
Tim Miles.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. We only have one game left, I guess. Rutgers over Indiana on Sunday. Anything to say about this before we move on?
Good win for Rutgers. That's a great win. One of the best teams in the Big Ten. They beat Indiana. Obviously, Obviously, a tough loss for Indiana, but Rutgers is a great team, tournament team. So, yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, when you look at the Big Ten, I think teams like Rutgers. I thought Rutgers was going to be one of the best teams in the Big Ten. I just think there are going to be stretches for these teams that aren't at the very top. They're just going to have 3 or 4 game losing streaks. That's just the nature of the Big Ten. I think Rutgers will bounce back. This was the start of it. Rutgers needed this game more than Indiana needed this game, just because Indiana's winning. Iowa is looking a lot better right now. And Rutgers, to their credit, they came out firing. This is a team that has to get to the tournament. This is probably the best team they've had since last year, or obviously. This is the best team that Steve Peifel's had. This is the best team Rutgers has had that actually has a chance to make the tournament. Last year, of course, it got canceled. So that's a good win for Rutgers, and I expect them to continue their 1-game winning streak. They'll make it 2 tomorrow.
All right. Yeah, nice win for Rutgers. You go into Assembly Hall, tough place to play, even without the fans that are usually there. But a classic Archie Miller letdown. Indiana's now 9-7. They're probably in the tournament, but they got to be careful because they lose games they shouldn't lose, and this was one of them. And they got Illinois and Iowa coming up, so we'll see. All right. I suppose we can move on. Pick a game from this week that we've not discussed and say something.
This past, well, we'll have to do my 3 teams around the country. We'll start with Richmond. They got a big win last night over St. Joseph's, and they had a bit, and they lost to LaSalle, but that's all right. All that matters is upcoming game against St. Louis. It's on Friday on ESPN2. That's the biggest game of the week. I hope we're picking that game. We're sure, probably not, because Chris won't still refuses to pick those games. But hopefully we will. St. Louis is the worst team in the A-10 conference. They're 0-1 in conference play, apparently. I don't know how that's possible. They just haven't played a conference game. Oh, they've all been postponed. St. Louis, the worst team in the just ahead of St. Joe's, who's 0-8. St. Louis 0-1 in conference. Richmond up there competing for conference championships, something St. Louis will never do because they're a horrible school. So I'm going to take Richmond that game by 40 points. Then we go to West Virginia, who had that big, wasn't a buzzer beater, but game-winning shot against Texas earlier in the week.
Texas Tech.
Which was Texas Tech, that's what I mean. It was a fantastic win for West Virginia. They also beat Kansas State, and that was a good win. I was a little surprised at how well they came out and how good they looked in that game because of they came off 3 postponed games
against
in a row.
Kansas State.
Well, they were off for over 2 weeks, Chris. That's why I was a little surprised how fast they came out.
Kansas State's basically a Division II team.
No, it's not. I'm not talking about Kansas State. I'm talking about how they came out and played. They looked good.
That would be like the RBA All-Star team playing against West Virginia.
Chris,
I don't care.
Chris, they scored 31 points in the first half. They played fantastic defense.
They played Kansas State.
I know, but okay.
They only scored 31 points on Kansas State.
Yeah, honestly. Are you kidding me?
Have you seen Kansas State?
They could have came out and bricked every freaking shot. It doesn't matter if Kansas State's out there or not. If they get open shots and they're missing them, that's coming out slow.
Well, I actually watched the first half of that game, and Kansas State had about 20 unforced turnovers. Had nothing.
Of course, because Kansas State's basically a rec ball team.
But it doesn't matter. They could have come played out against an empty gym, and they still came out and played good offense.
West Virginia could be down 20. That's nothing that matters. It's that the only thing that matters is that they tried.
Yeah,
that's all that matters.
Yeah.
All right, and then they could win against Texas Tech. Obviously, they have a big game coming up against Florida in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. And then they have a tough street. This is one of the toughest stretches I think any team plays in the country. After playing Iowa State in the second week of February, literally in 2 weeks, from the 6th to the 20th, they play They play Kansas, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, Baylor again, and then Texas. One of the toughest stretches I've seen. If they could split that 3-3, that'd be a great outcome for West Virginia. And then we have my last team, Indiana, which we already talked about, but great win against Iowa. And yeah.
I want to talk about the oh no, Mike, you go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. I'll talk about this Oklahoma-Texas game. Yeah, I've been all over both these teams, but lately I've been all over Oklahoma. I really like the way Oklahoma's been playing. I told you coming into the conference season, Oklahoma's a team to watch out for. I just think they have a ton of talent. AJ Reeves is a great player. Brady Vanek's back for his 30th year. Lon Kruger's an experienced coach. He's been there, done that. This is an experienced team as well. And Oklahoma going into Texas, winning there, just seems like, Texas, even when they're good in basketball, Oklahoma beats them every year.
Yeah, so Mike, I don't know if you watched that game, but I'll give you some context if you didn't.
Didn't watch the game.
Okay,
no.
Well, Shaka Smart had COVID, didn't coach. Courtney Ramey and Jericho Sims didn't play. Greg Brown and Matt Coleman fouled out.
Don't care. Okay, fouled out. Guess what? You get 5 fouls. Don't use them all. It's really simple as that. I like Texas. They're a very good team. Still think they're a Final Four level team. Oklahoma's a very good team, though. And that's a great win on the road. The committee doesn't care about who's playing and who's not. They only care about if it's a quadrant 1 win, and that'll be a quadrant 1 win in the end.
All right, I want to talk about how bad the Pac-12 is, because I don't know if our viewers understand the gravity of how bad this conference
is. What viewers?
Fair enough. So the 2 ranked teams in the Pac-12 last
week. If anybody's watching, don't watch, because we don't like you.
Okay. The 2 ranked teams in the Pac-12 last week were UCLA and Oregon. Let's go through what they did last week. Oregon lost at home to Oregon State. Now they're unranked.
Oregon State's a good team, and Oregon didn't. Well, we want to play that game. Oregon didn't have like 3 of their 5 starters.
I don't care.
So.
Oregon State.
Oregon State's a good team.
Yeah. All right. UCLA. Luckily, they got lucky and they beat Cal. Then they lost to Stanford on the road.
Well, that's your team.
Yeah. So apparently that moves them up in the poll, but that's a different story.
Well, when you're 8-1 in conference play, that's impressive.
I legitimately don't think in this entire conference, and I know there's going to be teams that make it, that there is one tournament level team.
UCLA.
No.
UCLA is a tournament level
team. If UCLA was playing in the Big 10 or the Big 12, they would not make the tournament.
I think if they play in the Big 10, they'd be an Indiana level team, which is barely a tournament.
They would be a Penn State level team.
No, because they played Ohio State tough. They should have beat them, and they didn't beat them.
No, okay, let's go.
Penn State would win this conference.
Ohio State beat UCLA by 7.
This conference blows. So
well, yes, it does. But to say there would be no tournament teams,
there shouldn't be. They should be banned from the tournament.
Well, you got to look at the context for these teams. UCLA's the one real basketball school out there. Arizona's got a tournament ban. Arizona State's had COVID issues. Then the rest of the teams don't care about basketball. So Oregon has had COVID issues, and they've had some injury issues as well. So I just don't think the Pac-12 really cares about basketball. They don't care about sports at all over there. They just don't.
It's an embarrassment how bad this conference is. All right.
They had to get rid of Larry Scott. They had to do it. They got rid of him. The next guy they bring in, he's got to be like an SEC level guy who puts the conference first, doesn't cancel the football season, understands that the Pac-12 is below the other 4 power conferences by a mile, and that they need to do something drastic.
All right. So we always do this every year. We always love to go through all the power conferences and tell you who the best coach in each conference is. So let's do it. Let's start with the Pac-12. Who's the best coach in the Pac-12?
Mick Cronin.
Okay. Thanks for that explanation, Mike.
I mean, does it need any explanation though? I mean, the coaches in the Pac-12 are atrocious, to say the least. I guess really the only competitors would be maybe Sean Miller. And Sean Miller, I think he's a pretty good coach, but I don't think he's anything real special. His teams kind of fall apart in the tournament, and it's kind of improving. He's been paying his players. Dana Altman, I'm telling you, he's the Lon Kruger of the Pac-12. If you replaced him with Lon Kruger would be doing the same things as him. So I don't think he's that great of a coach. You know what? Wayne Tinkle's a great coach, but I don't know if he's as good as Mick Cronin. Mick Cronin's done a great job at UCLA in his first 2 years, and he did a pretty good job at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's not the easiest place in the world, even though CBS rated them as a better program than Michigan State, which I actually agree with if you look at the history. But yeah, got to go with Mick Cronin here.
I'm gonna go with Dana Altman. I'm not going with somebody.
Okay, so I expect you to say Lon Kruger when we get to the Big 12.
Well, no, because the Big 12 has better coaches. So yeah, I mean, he's gone to the Final Four. Mick Cronin is not. So there you go. I just want to point out, I think
Lon Kruger's been to the Final Four.
Okay, I'm not. Jared Haas at Stanford, maybe the worst coach I've ever seen. This guy has 2 NBA players.
Are you kidding me? The fact that Stanford's winning any games is a great.
This guy has 2 NBA players and so many athletes, and they are so underperforming. It is so ridiculous.
Oh yeah. How about Arizona State? Talk about underperforming.
Yeah,
I've never seen a bigger underperforming
them
team
too.
in my life.
I agree. All right. The SEC. Who's the best coach in the SEC?
John Calipari. I mean, you can't even argue with it. He's clearly the best coach in the SEC, year in and year out.
All right.
Today, if we're talking about today, it's definitely not John Calipari in recruiting or X's and O's. It's not John Calipari because he's struggled in both in the past couple of years. This is another conference where they aren't really. I mean, Calipari's the one big name, but you don't have a lot of.
Will Wade's a close second.
I like Will Wade. I think he's doing a good job.
With Nate Oates bringing up third.
No. As Mike says, you can't judge a coach until he gets his guys in there, and Nate Oates still has Avery Johnson's guys in there. So
that is true, but he's doing a great job, helping out the system, getting the system up and running. Yeah, it's a tough one for me. You got great coaches like Buzz Williams. I think he'll get Texas A&M up and running in a couple of years. Tom Crean, I don't know what the hell's up with Tom Crean. He's been there for a couple of years. Nothing's really changing there. Kermit Davis at Ole Miss.
Bruce Pearl, character counts.
Kermit the Frog.
Yeah, and then the guy at Mississippi State who went to a couple Final Fours at UCLA. He's a pretty decent coach. Yeah, you know what? I think for the future, I'm going to go with Nate Oates. I like the way that Alabama's setting up for the future. They're recruiting very well, and I think he's going to recruit to a system, unlike Calipari, who just gets the top players and just tries to throw them all together.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Rick Barnes. Nate Oates, I'm going by Mike's.
For someone who cares so much about the tournament, my God, he just doesn't sometimes.
I'm going with.
He just doesn't care.
Okay, yeah. Well, you tell me. You tell me who I should pick who's not a choker in this.
This man had Kevin Durant
John Calipari.
and didn't make the Final Four.
Okay.
Are you kidding me?
So I'm not picking John Calipari. And you tell me who else I can pick. I can't pick Nate Oates, Mike, because I have to go by your standards. No.
Mike White.
All right.
Will Wade.
No. It's Rick Barnes.
Chris, I'm shocked you didn't say Buzz Williams.
Listen. He's number 2 on my list. Rick Barnes has done a great job at Tennessee.
How about Jerry Stackhouse?
Yep.
Yeah, I was about to say Jerry Stackhouse.
He was number 3. You're just naming off my list. Tom Crean.
Jerry Stackhouse might be the worst coach in all of college basketball.
Don't sleep on Quanzo Martin. He's done a really nice job in Missouri this year.
Wasn't he at Washington?
I don't know, but he's done a nice job in Missouri. So don't sleep on him.
He's horrible.
Rick
What
Barnes.
about Ben Howland at Mississippi State, Chris?
That's who Mike said.
Yeah, he went to a couple Final Fours at UCLA.
Okay.
Frank Martin, didn't he go to a Final Four in South Carolina?
Yes, I'm taking Rick Barnes.
Tom Crean's up there too.
Yeah.
You know what the SEC is? The SEC is a bunch of washed up former great coaches. That's what it is.
Who's the best coach in the ACC?
Jim Christian. No, he's the best MAC coach in the ACC. I'll tell you that. Probably Tony Bennett, right? I'm gonna go with Tony Bennett.
Yeah, Anthony Bennett is a great coach. I look at guys, you obviously got the Coach K's, you got the Roy Williams, you got the Kevin Keats, those are the blue blood schools.
Jim Boeheim,
really
the 2-3 zone.
Jim Boeheim's the worst coach.
Jim Larinaga.
ACC. Mike Bray at Notre Dame, great coach. Been a couple Elite Eights there. But I look at a guy like Leonard Hamilton.
Mike Bray.
Josh Pastner.
Anthony Bennett as well. But I think, the top three for me, I really like the job that what's his name? Mike Young's doing at Virginia Tech. He's got to be number 3. Talking about this year, number 2 is going to be Leonard Hamilton. Number 1 is going to be Tony Bennett. Although I really do like the coaches in the ACC. I think overall the coaching is at just a different level in the ACC compared to the SEC. But it's not as good as the Big Ten.
Yeah, I agree. The coaching in the ACC is good. I'm going to go Leonard Hamilton here. I have some issues with Virginia.
Well, your guy,
because the SEC has the same problem that they have in football, where they have to hire big name coaches to appease the fans. But the problem with basketball is they don't have the money to hire the big name coaches.
Okay, Leonard Hamilton here. He's just done an incredible job with a program that shouldn't be very good. Chris Mack, another guy. He's a very good coach. They're going to be an elite program in short order. And obviously,
still got a really young team.
And obviously, Jim Boeheim just obviously does a great job every year. All right, the Big East. Who is the best coach in the Big East? And you know what? Let's put a qualifier on this. Outside of Jay Wright, who's the best coach in the Big East?
Jamie Dixon.
Well, that's interesting because he's just not in the Big East.
Well, he's still the daddy of half the coaches in the Big East.
Yeah, the old Big East. It wasn't even this Big East. If Jamie Dixon was in this Big East, my God, he'd win every game.
Well, he couldn't beat Providence, so there you go.
Well, I mean, what was he, 80-something and 13 in conference play when he was at Pittsburgh?
I'm going to go with Dan Hurley.
Yeah, that was a good pick. The Big East has a bunch of bad coaches and a bunch of pretty good coaches. And then they got the one great coach, I believe, and Jay Wright. Look at the bottom of the barrel. I think Patrick Ewing's probably the second worst coach in all of college basketball, behind Jerry Stackhouse. Dave Latow's pretty bad, too.
All right, Mike, you were saying about Dave Latow?
Yes, Dave Latow, he really hasn't done anything at the ball. I mean, how many years in a row does he have to consistently win 1 or 2 games in the Big East and not get fired? It just blows my mind. Mike Anderson, I think he's a mediocre coach at St. John's. LaVall Jordan, he's had up and down years. He was really good last year. His team's pretty bad this year. He's all right. Steve Wojo, horrible coach. One of the worst coaches in all of college basketball. Dave Cooley, mediocre. I really like Travis Steele. He's a really good coach. Hurley, I think, is a good coach as well. I like Willard. McBuckets is okay. I'm going to go with Travis Steele. I really like Travis Steele. I think he's going to do good things there.
Oh, boy. This is going to be my favorite part of the podcast today, talking about all the great coaches in the Big East.
No, I just went over all of them.
Well, let's set aside Wojo because he's horrible. I agree.
Set aside Wojo. Set aside Ewing. Set aside
Ewing. Set aside Ewing and Wojo. Dave Latow, when you get to coach the greatest franchise in the history of the G League, that automatically makes you a great coach. That's why he's a great coach. So there's that. Mike Anderson, I think that program's on the come up at St. John's. So I'll give him benefit of the doubt. LaVall Jordan, same thing. And Danny Hurley, I think he's going to get them going. I don't know if he's the guy to make them elite again, but we'll see. But these. Yeah. Okay. Mike, you cut out there. But these other coaches here, Travis Steele, good coach. Coach McBuckets, good coach. And Ed Cooley is a really, really good coach. But I'll go with Kevin Willard if we're not including Jay Wright. He just does wonders with a team that doesn't usually have a ton of talent. So,
well, even if we were including Jay Wright, I'd go with Dan Early.
Did you hear what I said about Dave Leitao?
No.
I said, well, you see the job he did at Virginia before he was there before Tony Bennett was, and they didn't win anything, and then Tony Bennett came in and made them a national power. So yeah, he's great.
Yeah, but only because he had all of his infrastructure already laid down there.
That's a great point. You have to look at
that's the old Democrat argument.
You have to look at the structure he laid in Portland for the Red Claws, and look what the power they are now after he left. I mean, he laid down everything there. So you got to give him credit. Yeah, but I'm going with Kevin Willard. And by the way, they're up 10 at halftime against Creighton right now. They seem to win these games. All right. Let's see. The Big 12. Who's the best coach in the Big 12?
Oh, God. Scott Drew, probably. I mean, who else is there? Oh, I guess, Bill Self.
Yeah, someone was talking about this. I don't know, it might have been, I think it was Fran Fraschilla was talking about this. Hold on. Because I'm just looking up the name of the Oklahoma State basketball coach, because I still don't know.
Mike Boynton.
Yes.
Mike Boynton. God, Chris, you will not believe what I just found.
What?
Coach's hot seat for college basketball.
Oh, let's go.
Well, that's got to be a new segment, right?
Yeah, we will get to that.
Guess who's number 2?
Dave Leitao.
Dave Leitao.
Who's number 1?
Take a guess.
You gotta send this to the group.
Gotta take a guess.
Coach K.
Jim Christian.
All right, Mike.
Yeah, as I was saying, Bill Self, I think with these kind of recruiting, these NCAA cloud that's kind of been over Kansas the past couple of years. I think that's hurt recruiting, and Kansas hasn't quite been the same talent level they've been.
Oh, they haven't been the same. They're number 5 in the country.
Well, they're 15th in the country, but anyway.
Yeah, down year.
Well, let's look at the coaches. I think the Big 12 might have the best, smorgasbord of coaches out there. I mean, Steve Prohm at Iowa State, he's got to be in the coach's hot seat, right? He sucks.
I don't know. I haven't looked.
Bruce Weber, maybe you could probably say his time might have passed at Kansas State. But besides that, everybody else is great. Jamie Dixon, Big East all-time winningest coach, doing a great job at TCU. Bill Self, self-explanatory. Chris Beard's a great coach. I think someone put it perfectly, he's like the newer version of Bob Knight. He actually can relate to the kids, unlike Bob Knight. Mike Boynton, Oklahoma State. He's not doing a job, and he's doing a decent job. Of course, Bobby Huggins, great coach. Lon Kruger's a good coach.
Oh, I forgot about Bob Huggins.
Oh, God. Shaka's a great coach, and Drew's a great coach. I think it comes down to those two.
That's ridiculous. It comes down to Beard, Huggins, and Bill Self.
I think there are a lot of great coaches. I mean, you got to put Drew in there. You got to put Shaka in there. I'm going to go with Drew. I think Scott Drew's done the best job of any coach in the Big 12 over the past couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, Scott Drew definitely deserves a lot of consideration here. And by the way, I'd like to say Steve Prohm and maybe Bruce Weber. Definitely Steve Prohm needs to be fired. He's horrible. But I'm going to go with Chris Beard. The Final Four or the Masters Championship, they should have won a couple of years ago. If it wasn't for the missed double dribble call on Jerome. So I'll go with Chris Beard. All right, who's the best coach of the Big Ten?
Chris Holtman. But obviously we're going to, other than Chris Holtman, because he's in a category by himself. On a normal year, I go with Pat Chambers, but then he beat the shit out of one of his players, so he's no longer there.
Well, that just shows why he's a great coach.
Yep.
He won't discipline his players.
Here's a bum. this is Michigan's year to win it. I think Chris has been saying this for a while because of if they don't win it this year.
Yeah, I was saying because they have the mix of the
they have the
experienced players and the new players. Yeah.
But obviously Mark Turgeon also is in the Chris Holtmann class. I think that goes without stating. But I think I'm going to have to go with Matt Painter. I mean, Purdue's always been good. They're always good. It's one of the toughest places to play is go to Purdue and try to play there. Well, it's always one of the toughest places to play. They're always good. He always seems to find these 7, 8 guys that no one else can find, and they're just always good. So I'm going to go with Matt Painter.
Well, I mean, unlike the Big 12 or the ACC or the FCC, I don't think there's a single bad coach in the Big 10. I don't think there's a single bad coach. You can look at, maybe their X's and O's aren't great or their recruiting isn't great, but overall, there's not one bad coach in the Big 10. And Nebraska, I mean, I know a lot of people are starting to question Fred Hoiberg, just his style. Will it work in the Big 10, bringing in a ton of transfers? I mean, it's worked in the past. We'll see how that goes. I still think he's a very good coach. I mean, Jim Ferry's a great coach. He's done a great job at Penn State so far. Chris Collins, he's a very good coach. Northwestern's a tough place to win, and he's done a pretty good job. Tom Izzo has been a bad coach this year, but overall he's been a good coach. Turgeon, good recruiter, bad coach, but he is a good recruiter, so that makes him a good coach. Peichel's a great, he's a great X's and O's coach. I think he's probably the second best X's and O's coach behind Painter. Archie, listen, that team's gotten better every year. Indiana's getting better. Patino at Minnesota, I think he's doing a great job getting the transfers in. He wins a lot with transfers, and in today's college basketball, it's college sports in general, the transfer portal is such a big part of it, so he's doing a good job there. Chris Holtmann's a great coach. I don't think we talk enough about Chris Holtmann. He's kind of lost in the fray a lot. Brad Underwood's lost in the fray also. I think he's done a terrific job. When Illinois first got there, they were a mess, and he's turned them around in just a couple of years. Greg Gard, one of the best coaches in the country. Fran's a pretty good coach. He has a system that works pretty well, and he recruits to it. And that system is get as many white players as possible. I respect it. Juwan Howard, he's a great recruiter. Is he a great coach? That's still yet to be seen. X's and O's wise, because he still made some boneheaded decisions when he's been the head coach there on the court. So the best overall coach, I'm going to have to go with Matt Painter as well. Just because, I mean, I think he's the best X's and O's coach, but he recruits the hell out of, places you don't really think of. He does a great job in Canada. He gets the Zach Edey's of the world. But really, I think it's his X's and O's that shine. I mean, look at last year. He had a starting point guard who couldn't shoot, and they still almost made the tournament. No Jell Eastern. And they had no shooting on that team last year, and he almost willed them to the tournament. And this year they got a really young team. Next year they're going to be competing for the Big Ten. He's a great coach, Matt Painter.
Yeah, a lot of great coaches here. I agree with Mike. I don't really see one bad one aside from Archie Miller. Everybody else is pretty good.
No, ridiculous.
But anyways, I will. The answer here is Matt Painter. If you're just looking at purely X's and O's, and that's what I would say I would look at if I'm who's the best coach, that's what I'm gonna look at. It's Matt Painter. But if I'm looking at if I'm gonna say, I want to combine recruiting and coaching, I'm going with Juwan Howard because of what he's done. Obviously, he's great. Obviously, he's a great
track record.
Obviously, he's a great recruit. Okay, well,
some sort of track record.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you chose Nate Oates in the SEC, so.
Well, he had a track record at Buffalo, did he not?
Well, Juwan Howard has a track record as the assistant coach for the Heat. Anyways,
well, did he ever manage a game? Because all I know is at Miami he was like the fifth assistant.
Listen,
he wasn't a good.
Well, you
coach.
can look at if you're going to look at a great coach, you can look at maybe they have a great system like Fran McCaffrey. Maybe they are an elite defensive team like Michigan. If you're an elite defensive team,
they were an elite defensive team last year.
No, they weren't. But what has he done for me lately?
Well, I don't understand what you're saying.
They're an elite defensive team this year. And they play great offense. So he's a good coach, and he's a great recruiter. That's all I know. And so that's why I would take him if I was combining it. But X's and O's purely, I'll take Matt Painter.
Yeah, well, Juwan Howard, he's proven that he's a bad X's and O's coach. He just has.
I don't think he has. It's just not true.
And he's proven that he's a good recruiter, but he's lost out on some guys like Isaiah Todd, Josh Christopher, guys he was supposed to get, he didn't get. And we'll see next year how great of a coach he is, facing Amoni Bates and Tom Izzo.
We'll see with his number one recruiting class.
Michigan State will have the number one recruiting class by the end of the year. So
by the end of what? 2 years from now, when Amoni Bates still trying to class?
Well, Chris, you have to remember, Amoni Bates is going to reclassify the next 5 Michigan State recruiting classes, so he'll always be number one.
That's a great point.
Yep.
All right. Let's get this. Mike and I both went 11-10 last week. I'm still 5 games back.
Are you outside, Chris? You sound like you just went outside to a snowstorm.
No. Okay, Luke.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit.
Anyways, yeah. So let's get to the picks. Luke with a great week, 9-12.
Let's go.
He's 18 games back. So having a hard time.
Right where I want to be.
Yeah. So we got 2 games here that are.
Wait. What week did we have? Did me and you have?
We were both 11-10. I'm still 5 games back. We have 2 games here that we picked from last week that are still going on right now. Creighton and Seton Hall. Mike and I both picked Seton Hall. Luke picked Creighton, and Seton Hall's up 10 at half. And Marquette and Providence. Luke didn't refuse to pick this game. So, Mike and I picked Providence, and they're up 7 at half. So, we'll start.
And I still refuse to pick it.
Okay,
Did we pick the Ohio State Penn State
I didn't
game?
give you an option. No, we did not pick that game.
How do we not pick that game?
Was that a rescheduled game?
Yes.
That's why.
Okay.
Number 14, Wisconsin at Maryland.
Oh, at Maryland. Maryland top 3 team in the Big Ten, but I think Wisconsin comes out with the upset.
No, Wisconsin wins and covers.
Yeah, Wisconsin.
That's what I said. Wisconsin comes out with the upset.
Okay. Number 25, Louisville at Clemson.
At Clemson. I like Clemson. I don't like Clemson sometimes, but I like Clemson. But I guess I'll have to go with Louisville.
Well, a 3-game losing streak can't take me off the Clemson bandwagon quite yet. I'm going to take Clemson to win.
I'm taking Louisville. Clemson is in an absolute free fall right now.
Yeah, it's not good.
Oh, Burnell's on the hot seat. Got to see that ranking.
All right, Michigan State at Rutgers.
I'll take Rutgers.
Rutgers in a blowout.
I'm taking Michigan State. Stanford at Arizona.
What the hell?
Why are you picking a shitty conference?
I'll take Arizona.
Yeah, I'm going to take Arizona as well.
I'm taking Stanford because I need them to win the conference. All right, number 22, St. Louis at Richmond.
Richmond. St. Louis sucks. They haven't won a conference game yet this year.
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
Yeah, that's a loss for you guys. Pencil that in already.
Number 7, Iowa at number 19, Illinois.
Illinois.
Yeah, this is my lock of the week. I'll take Illinois. I really like the talent that Illinois has. I think they're going to give Iowa trouble. They're a physical team as well. I really like Illinois here.
Yeah, I hope Illinois wins for Michigan's chances of winning the conference, but I'm taking Iowa. Number 9, Alabama at number 24, Oklahoma.
Oh, this is a big. This is probably the game in the SEC Big 12 Challenge, in my opinion. Just because they're both 2 hot teams. But I think I'm gonna go with is at Oklahoma. I think I'm still gonna go with Alabama.
You know what? I like Oklahoma here. I think they're the better team. I like that. I've been all over Alabama all year, but I think they play in an easier conference, and they play easier teams. That's why they have a really good conference record. They're still undefeated in conference. I like Oklahoma to win the game.
I agree. I think Alabama, they were shooting the ball really well for a couple of games. They've cooled off a little bit. They've barely won these last 2 games against pretty bad teams, Mississippi State and Kentucky. Oklahoma's playing really well, so I'll take them. All right, Clemson at Duke.
God, what a game here. I'll take Clemson.
I'm gonna go with Duke.
Duke sucks.
I'm also taking Duke.
Duke sucks.
Number 10, Texas Tech at LSU.
Texas Tech.
Ooh, very interesting game here. All these challenge games are interesting. Of course, there's going to be crowds there because all the SEC teams allow crowds, so that could be a factor.
Will there be crowds there?
I believe so. Yeah, they all have crowds.
I didn't know if the Big 12 would still let their teams play with crowds.
Well, I think the Big 12 has crowds too. So.
Yeah, I was going to say the Big 12 actually. I don't
did you see the Baylor game?
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, this is a very interesting game. Yeah, I think Texas Tech will win. LSU will keep it close, though. LSU's right now, I think they're a pretty solid tournament team, so watch out.
Yeah, I'm taking Texas Tech. All right, number 3, Villanova at Seton Hall.
Villanova.
Yeah, Villanova.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Seton Hall wins here, but I'm just not going to pick against Villanova. Number 14, Wisconsin at Penn State.
Wisconsin.
Man, I'll take Wisconsin close.
Wisconsin. Number 16, Florida State at Georgia Tech.
Florida State.
Florida State. They're playing way too well right now. They destroyed Miami.
Florida State. Arkansas at Oklahoma State.
I'll take Arkansas.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. I'm going to take Arkansas.
They score a lot of points.
I like Arkansas is a very good team. Musselman's a great coach. He's doing good things there. Oklahoma State, a good team. Are they still without Cade Cunningham? I mean, I don't really know anything about that right now, the situation with him. But I think Arkansas will win anyway, even if he does play.
I'm taking Oklahoma State regardless of whether Cunningham plays. I think they're just better. All right, Oregon at USC.
Are we not picking this Auburn-Baylor game?
No, we're not picking Auburn and Baylor.
I was going to take Auburn. I was ready.
That's a good matchup, Sharif Cooper.
Not a good matchup.
Bruce Pearl.
Okay, make the pick here. Oregon
What's the game?
Oregon at USC.
Well, I don't really care. Now I'm just depressed that I couldn't pick Auburn. Oregon. No, USC.
Yeah, I'll take Oregon.
Oregon.
I'm taking USC.
Number 8, Virginia at number 20, Virginia Tech.
Virginia.
Yeah, I really do like Mike Young, but when in doubt, you got to take Anthony Bennett.
Virginia. Number 15, Kansas at number 18, Tennessee.
Kansas.
Tennessee.
I'm taking Kansas. Tennessee can't score.
Kansas has lost its last 3 games.
True.
Well, if this is a conference game, they'd win,
too.
but it's a non-conference game, so they'll lose.
Number 5, Texas at Kentucky.
Texas.
Texas in overtime. Very close game.
Texas.
But Kentucky will disappoint at the end.
Texas. Michigan State at number 13, Ohio State.
Ohio State.
Ohio State by 55.
Yeah, I'm taking Michigan State.
I can't wait to be at least two games up
Well,
from what I was last week.
I'm making this. I'm just going to keep picking Michigan State because it just becomes a win-win for me.
Good. This is perfect.
No, it becomes a win-win for me. If they win, I get.
No, it doesn't because we're not going to win another game for the rest of the year. So
if they win, I go up in the picks. If they lose, then great. All right, Rutgers at Northwestern.
Rutgers.
Yeah, Rutgers. Northwestern's falling off. I don't think they're going to get off the mat.
Number 24, Oklahoma. Oh, sorry, I'm taking Rutgers. Number 24, Oklahoma at number 10, Texas Tech.
Texas Tech.
Yeah, Oklahoma's coming off. At least I project they're going to be coming off 2 big wins. I'm going to take Texas Tech here.
Texas Tech. Number 5, Texas. Number 2, Baylor. In Waco.
In Waco?
Yeah.
Oh, it says Texas at home. It says it's at Texas.
Are they?
The ESPN app says it's at Texas.
Was this game Wednesday? Monday?
Tuesday.
Sure,
Yeah, it is at Texas. It's at Texas, my bad.
At Texas, I'll take Texas.
It's at Texas, my bad.
Yep. Baylor.
All right. Michigan State at number 7, Iowa.
You can go first, Chris.
Iowa.
Oh, I thought, what happened to, I'm picking Michigan State because eventually they're going to win.
Well, I'm not going to pick against Iowa because I think they're going to win the national championship.
Yeah, well, this is the one game. This is the one game Michigan State's going to win. I'm taking Michigan State.
I'm taking Iowa.
Okay. Tennessee at number 18. Tennessee at Ole Miss.
Tennessee. I assume you're taking Ole Miss. That would be the only reason we're picking this game.
Tennessee. So why'd you put that game on there?
Listen, Ole Miss is a decent team.
Okay,
team.
I'll take the bait. I'll take Ole Miss.
All right, there we go. Mission accomplished. All right.
Yeah, you're 18 games back. You have nothing to lose.
Number 19, Illinois at Indiana. Illinois. Number 25, Louisville at Syracuse.
Louisville.
Syracuse.
Seton Hall at Providence.
I refuse to pick this game.
All right.
Seton Hall.
I'll take Providence.
All right, I'm taking Seton Hall. Nebraska at Michigan State.
Nebraska. Listen, Nebraska's going to win a game sometime this year, and it's going to be against us. They almost beat us the first time. They're going to beat us this time.
Yeah, Michigan State. Number 8, Virginia at North Carolina State.
Virginia.
Looking at blowout. Look at this game. Kevin Keats's crew is getting destroyed by Wake Forest right now.
Okay. Anything else to say before we finish up here?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that, Michigan sucks. And Tom Izzo needs to be fired.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll be back next week with some more basketball. See if Michigan State can get going. Stay safe. Thank you for watching.